On the 12th of September 1940, 4 teenagers in occupied France followed their dog into a hole in the ground in the Dordogne Valley and walked into a cave that contained 600 painted images and around 1,500 engravings of animals, made by people working with mineral pigments and reed brushes between 15 and 17,000 years ago. The cave is called Lascaux. It has been closed to the public since 1963. The town of Montignac sits on the Weser River in the Dordogne in southwestern France. On the 12th of September 1940, 4 local teenagers, Marcel Ravidat, Jacques Marsal, Georges Agniel, and Simon Coencas, were walking in the woods on a hill above the town when Ravidat's dog robot disappeared down a hole at the base of an uprooted tree. The boys investigated. The hole opened into a narrow shaft that descended several meters into limestone bedrock. They returned the following day with a homemade lamp. What they found on that first descent was a chamber the size of a small room. The walls were painted with large outlined animals in red and black: bulls, horses, deer. They reported it. Within 10 days, the local schoolteacher, Léon Laval, had visited and confirmed the boys' account. Within a month, the prehistorian Henri Breuil, at that point the most senior figure in French Paleolithic studies, had traveled to Montignac and begun a systematic survey. Breuil's survey, completed under conditions of wartime occupation, was the first scientific documentation of the cave. His drawings and his published descriptions remained the standard reference for decades. Lascaux is a roughly 250-meter system of connected chambers and galleries cut into porous limestone. The walls and ceilings are decorated in different densities throughout most of the system. The named sections, in the order a visitor would have encountered them in the original entrance configuration, are the Hall of the Bulls, the Painted Gallery, the Lateral Passage, the apse, the nave, and a deep narrow shaft, the Shaft of the Dead Man. The total inventory, established across multiple surveys between Breuil's 1940s work and the comprehensive 1990s surveys led by Norbert Orjulat, is approximately 600 individual painted figures, 1,500 engravings, and a smaller number of indeterminate marks. The animal subjects are dominated by horses, about 360 figures, followed by aurochs, the wild ancestors of modern cattle, then deer, then bison. There are several painted ibex, 2 felines, 1 rhinoceros, and 1 bird. There are abstract dot and line patterns. There are no painted humans, with one famous exception in the shaft. The pigments are mineral. The reds and yellows come from iron ochres. The blacks come from manganese dioxide and from charcoal. The pigments were applied with brushes made from frayed plant material, with chewed end sticks, with finger smudging, and in some cases by spraying, likely by blowing pigment through hollow bone tubes. Some figures are outlined and shaded, others are pure outline. Others are filled silhouettes. The technical range across a single cave system is unusually wide. Direct radiocarbon dating of cave paintings is technically difficult. Charcoal pigment can be dated, but only a small fraction of the Lascaux figures are made with charcoal. Most use mineral pigments which carry no organic carbon. Indirect dating methods include radiocarbon dating organic material associated with the floor deposits, dating the calcite layer that has subsequently grown over some figures, and stylistic comparison with other dated sites. The currently accepted date range for Lascaux falls within the Magdalenian cultural period, with most published estimates placing the painted phase at between roughly 15,000 and 17,000 years ago. The earliest published radiocarbon assays from organic remains in the floor deposits, run in the 1950s, gave dates around 15,500 years before present, which is still cited as a working figure. Some more recent stylistic arguments push the start of the painted phase slightly earlier. The cave was almost certainly used over multiple visits across centuries, not in a single decorative event. At the deepest reach of the cave, in the narrow vertical shaft known as the puits, is the only painted human figure in the entire site. The composition is unambiguous in its outlines. A human figure with a bird-like head lies horizontally, apparently fallen, beside a wounded bison whose entrails are visible through a gash in its flank. A spear lies between them. To the left of the human figure on the cave wall, a bird sits on a vertical stick. To the right, a single rhinoceros walks away from the scene. The shaft scene has been a focus of interpretive disagreement among prehistorians for nearly 80 years. The literal reading is a hunting accident. A hunter speared a bison. The wounded bison gored or knocked the hunter down. The shamanistic reading, advanced most influentially by the South African archaeologist David Lewis Williams, is a depiction of a trance vision rather than an event. The narrative reading, advanced by the French prehistorian André Lerigueur, is one of a thematic composition rather than a literal record. No direct evidence resolves the competing readings. The painting itself does not declare its own meaning. Lascaux, in this respect, is similar to many decorated Upper Paleolithic sites. The images are clear. The intent is not. Lascaux was opened to public visits in 1948, 3 years after the war ended. The original entrance was modified to admit visitors. Lighting was installed. The cave became one of the most visited prehistoric sites in Europe. By the late 1950s, the surfaces showed visible damage. The combined effect of about 1,200 visitors per day was a measurable rise in carbon dioxide, in temperature, and in humidity, all of which favored the growth of algae and bacteria on the painted walls. A green-colored algal bloom, recorded as the maladie verte, the green sickness, became visible on multiple panels. In 1963, the French Minister for Culture, André Malraux, ordered the cave permanently closed to the general public. Conservation treatments through the 1960s brought the immediate algal problem under control. Subsequent decades have seen further outbreaks, a separate fungal contamination in 2001, ongoing white and black mold episodes since, and the conservation regime has tightened progressively. Since the early 2000s, original cave access has been restricted to roughly 5 scientists per year working in protective suits for short periods. Because Lascaux is closed, the public version of Lascaux now exists in 3 replicas. Lascaux 2, opened in 1983, is a partial concrete and resin replica of the Hall of the Bulls and the Painted Gallery, located 200 meters from the original cave. It is open year-round. Lascaux 3 is a traveling exhibition of selected reconstructed panels, designed to tour internationally. It has appeared, in stages, in cities including Chicago, Houston, Brussels, Paris, and Tokyo since 2012. Lascaux 4, opened in December 2016, is a full-scale facsimile of the entire decorated section of the cave, located at the base of the hill on which the original cave sits. The replica was constructed by the Périgord facsimile workshop using laser scans of the original walls and the original pigment recipes. It is the version essentially everyone who has now visited Lascaux has seen. A teenage hiking party in occupied France in 1940 followed a dog into a hole in the ground and found a cave with 600 painted animals on its walls, made by people working with iron, ochre and manganese dioxide between 15 and 17,000 years ago. The original cave is closed. It is closed because human visitors damaged it within 15 years of opening it. The full-scale replica is open. Each of the painted bulls in the Hall of the Bulls is roughly 3 or 4 meters long. The horses are smaller. The rhinoceros in the shaft is alone. The hunter, if it is a hunter, lies beside a wounded bison and does not get up. The cave has been there since the late Pleistocene. Most of human civilization postdates it.